All right, hello friends, welcome to Access Bellingham. I'm Eero Johnson. And I guess this is how we meet now. For the next 6 weeks, we're going to be separated. But I thought rather than just let these 6 weeks go by, I'm hoping that we can find a way to all stay connected, stay inspired, stay creative, keep making programs, and just stay together, even though it's in this kind of strange virtual way. So what I've done is I've created a 6-week program for all of us. And I hope you'll follow it. This is week 1. This week we'll talk about ideas and creativity and pre-production. And we'll go down the line for these 6 weeks, so hopefully by the end of it, you have a completed video and you'll have learned something, and you've learned some new skills that you can take into your next videos. I also hope that people who are coming into the program after all of this chaos settles down will be able to get value out of these lessons. So if you're new to Access Bellingham and you're coming at this, somewhere down the road, welcome. So this is the first of our 6 weeks, and this entire curriculum is based on an idea from writing that I heard, and the idea is write from your own backyard, which is the idea that you should write what you know about. So, for example, if you're a bartender, it's not a bad idea to have your lead character be a bartender. You already have all sorts of inside knowledge, all sorts of interesting stories that the rest of the world may not have. And I think this is particularly true with video in general, especially when we're first starting out. I think there's this desire to make, the next, Academy Award-winning film, or if you're making a documentary to try to solve some, global problem or some intractable problem. We tackle climate change or, the homeless issues. When really, again, especially when we're first starting out, I think there are all sorts of stories right in your own backyard that are really interesting, that you could tell really well, and that the rest of the planet may not have access to. Something that's interesting to you, something that you're involved with already. If you're interested in it, other people will be interested in it too. I just want to say a brief bit about creativity, because I don't think creativity can be taught. I don't think there's a book or a video or anyone or any piece of advice that I could give you, or that anyone could give you, that would help you come up with that great idea or that creative idea. But I do think that creativity, in fact, I'm certain, I know this to be true, creativity can be learned. The more you create things, the more you're a creative person, the more creative you become. The more you do music or paint or read books or learn new things, the more you create, the more you put yourself out there, you just become a more creative person. When I'm working with people, I often tell them they'll come to me with an idea, and I'll often say, take that idea further. Go further with it. You can always push the creativity and push it into places that people haven't seen before. So I just encourage you to do that with your stories, with your filming, with your editing, with everything you do. Just keep pushing it and keep trying something new. And over time, you'll find your style, you'll find your voice, and your own creative gift to the world. I want to talk about the difference between ideas and stories. There's a difference between an idea and an idea that you can actually film. So, for example, if you come to me with and you come to me and you say, I have an idea for I have an idea. I want to make a film of a guy with two heads. That's an idea, but it is not, that idea doesn't really have a lot of value as a video. Not yet. Because there's no story to it. It's just about a guy with, there's nothing there. There's a guy with two heads. But if you say, okay, it's about a guy with two heads, and we're going to tackle the themes of prejudice and, social isolation from having two heads, and the story is that he was, he lived with his parents, he lived in the basement, and he was shielded from the world for most of his life, and then his parents died, and at 18 he came out of the basement. He encountered the world for the first time. He dealt with a lot of prejudice because he's a guy with two heads. He meets a girl. She doesn't care that he has two heads, but her parents do. So it becomes a Romeo and Juliet kind of thing. Now we're starting to have a story. And a story is much different than just having an idea. And even though that's kind of on a large scale, the same principle holds true with whatever you're doing. If you say, I want to make a film about my friend Karen, who is a woodworker, that's an idea, but it's not yet a filmable idea. It doesn't yet have a story to it. If you say, I want to make a video about how Karen builds a table, so it's kind of an educational thing. I want to watch her build a table from start to finish. That you can make a program out of. Or I want to know Karen's story. I want to hear how she got into it, who her influences are, what does she love about working with wood, and where she's going in the future. Then that's an interesting story. If you tell the story of a special cabinet she made, maybe she built a cabinet for her mother on her birthday. You can tell the story about that cabinet. Then that, again, we're moving from an idea into an idea that can actually tell a story. And of course, all of these things can swirl together. But it's really a good idea to nail it down before you press record on the camera. I actually find this pre-production stage of coming up with ideas and looking at the best way to craft them so they have some sort of so they're held together and can reach an audience. I think it's some of the funnest parts of making a video, and it doesn't require anything. It requires a pen and a piece of paper, and that's a lot. It's just so much easier to figure out now than when you have a camera in your hand and you press record, and then you get back to the editing suite and you realize that you don't have the footage you need. So make sure that you go into your video knowing the story that you want to tell. That's the most important thing. Go into the video knowing the story that you want to tell. All right, let's talk about what our goals are for the next 6 weeks. Over the next 6 weeks, we want to make a short documentary about someone in our life. And at this time, we can't reach out to the community and try to find the most interesting person. So we're going to go back to that theme of working from our own backyard. Who is it that we see every day? Is it somebody we live with? Is it a family member? Is it someone in our circle who we see regularly, who has an interesting story or an interesting hobby or something they want to share? And we're going to make a short documentary about that person. I think it's important to remember that it's often not the idea. It's not just the idea that's important. Really fantastic films have been made about the simplest ideas. And I find often artists and musicians, and filmmakers, the more they work, the more they really become, they don't become more complex. They often become more simple. So reach out to family, friends, people you're around, and let's see if we can't tell their story. Below this video, you'll find more resources. You'll find links to other videos that support some of the things I've talked about. You'll find handouts. You'll find other notes. And most importantly, you'll find homework. So there will be a list of homework for you to do over the next week to get us ready for the following week, which is to actually do the interview. All right, and until then, enjoy, stay safe, stay together, stay creative, and we'll see you next week.